before, I swear.
Wait,
Hello.
and now we're here.
Now we're here for real. So we have Ashley Baer, which I've been talking about on social media all week, all 2 of the other days of the week. No, and last week I did talk about it. I'm excited. Can you tell? Because I used to work for you at Village Yoga, but we'll get into that later. So usually we start with our yoga stories. So why don't you kind of just however you want to, you can do the short version or the long version,
It's
however you want.
a long version. I'll shorten it though.
Okay.
So someone first mentioned that I should do yoga and like mindfulness in my 20s. I lived in Los Angeles. It was an acting teacher. And I just said, no, that stuff's like super weird. I just kind of had ideas about it, but I really didn't understand what it was. So said no, but the reason it was suggested was because I was struggling with like anxiety, and he was like, you're not even here in your body.
Aww.
And I was doing acting. And so then 20 years later, literally, I was struggling with my mental health and my physical health. And I kept collapsing, like fainting, but twice in a car. And the last time was 2016. And I crashed my car on the way home from work and found out I had 10 brain lesions. I don't even know if you know this, Rachel. So
No.
I had found out I had 10 brain lesions, and there was no explanation for it. I went to the Mayo Clinic. I had neurologists. They had no explanation. And so finally I thought maybe it's stress. And so I literally, what doctors couldn't diagnose, I figured out myself and like healed myself. I want to tell you all the medicines I was on.
Oh my God.
So anxiety meds, depression meds, IBS. I was being treated for pulmonary lung disease, COPD, which is usually like you're in your 80s.
Or you're a heavy smoker.
I was on prescription cough medicine because I had a coughing asthma. I couldn't stop coughing. I had an inhaler. I had a breathing machine. I took Ambien for sleep, which I don't think they even give out anymore. Like 6, 7 meds, and collapsing and struggling mentally, working, all that. And when I found out I had the brain lesions, I decided, well, maybe I need to look at my health, my mental health, my physical health. And I finally remembered that teacher had suggested yoga, mindfulness. So I had a friend put me in like my first yoga pose, which was child's pose. And I thought, this is yoga, because I just had these misconceptions that it was super weird or something out there. And I'm like, oh, it's literally like moving your body and breathing. So became a yoga teacher, really got into mindfulness and meditation, started getting trained in that, really saw the benefit for my mental health. And I can now report I'm medicine free. I'm on zero. I'm not being treated for anything. And it's all from breath, literally learning that I was breathing the wrong way and starting to move my body. I had moved my body in 20 something years. But also the mindfulness aspect, like noticing my thinking. I had a lot of trauma, a lot of childhood trauma since I was 8 years old was like my first traumatic event. And then I had a lot. And so I just kind of had pushed it all aside. But if you've read The Body Keeps the Score, it goes in the body. And it literally, my mental of everything I had been through made me sick. And when I cleared up my mind and finally looked at my trauma and dealt with it and started doing self-care and wellness, then like I healed everything. What doctors told me they had no explanation for.
Oh my gosh.
I want to congratulate you on being medicine free, because I am too, and I have a similar story, and I'm not going to tell it, but just congratulations. It's such an accomplishment, and it's such a show of inner strength. And like I could cry, because I honestly, like, it's been sort of an isolating journey, because medicine is a polarizing topic, and we all understand that there's a case for medicine, right? So I've had to be careful and walk on eggshells with just being really excited about it. But I feel like with you, I can be very excited about it. So
Yeah,
congratulations.
you.
It feels
And
so good to do that on your own, right?
yeah, and I literally had no idea. And sometimes people get mad and say like, "Oh, stress doesn't make you sick." It
It
does.
literally is what causes every illness.
It's the
Every
thing.
illness.
And when I cleared up my mental stress, my body
The body
healed.
followed. Yeah.
It did.
That's
It was
incredible.
learning how to use the breath
Yeah.
to heal. So that was kind of how I became a yoga teacher. When I started to become a yoga teacher, I'd never even taken a yoga class in a studio. The
Yeah.
first studio I ever took a yoga class in was Village Yoga, which I ended up
Oh
where
my God.
Rachel worked. I showed up literally to do the teacher training and said to the teacher, I've never even taken a yoga class. Like, can I do this? And she goes, you'll be fine. And I mean, and I've done like 2 certifications, and, I love yoga, but it was really not just the body, but the mental, the mindfulness, the meditation. That's
Yeah.
that's what really got to me, which I would never have learned if I hadn't taken the yoga class, the certification. So life
Wow.
changing, physically, mentally, like I go on about it.
Well, so how did you get from there to being into the Forsyth County schools and doing all that? Or maybe it's more. See, I don't even know. I stalk you maybe like that much, but
So it's
and
funny.
also Leanne.
Well, okay, so it's kind of connected. So when had that accident, I was working in Fulton County, which is a bigger county, and I was doing like mediation. So I'm
Okay.
trained in mediation by the Justice Department. Fun fact. So basically, I would come in and handle like when parents wanted to sue the county, and I would try to keep it from lawyers. It's very stressful. But the day of my accident we had this big court case going on. It was like in the news. It was very stressful. Teachers were crying. I also helped with special ed and like IEPs. And it was the anniversary of my mother's death, which was my first trauma. So I don't think that's an
Yeah.
accident, that was the day my body shut down, which I've realized now through yoga and mindfulness that it was my vagus nerve, that it shuts you down when it thinks you're going to die. And it thought I was from my mental and emotional stress because I did nothing for myself. I didn't
Yeah.
eat that day. I remember the day exactly. And so, you know, on the way home from work was when I crashed, and crashed on 400. Like, I shouldn't even be alive here talking to you. And that was the second time I've crashed. Once was on Old Milton Parkway. I crossed the oncoming traffic.
Oh my
And
God.
then years later, it's funny, I did nothing that time for my mental health. But this time was my wake up call because it was on 400 and I hit someone, and I was already unconscious driving the car.
Jesus.
Wow.
So it was part of my wellness plan was leaving a bigger county and going to Forsyth, which, I ended up taking a job there in special ed. And I thought, well, moving to a smaller county will be less stressful. And
Nope.
it was at that time I started the yoga training. And it was then that I had an aha moment. So I was already kind of working for Forsyth in a different role, that I suddenly was like, why isn't this in schools? Like, why do we not teach kids that you can breathe for anxiety? Because I had struggled with anxiety since second grade.
Mhm.
And so I would go to my teachers and say, like, my stomach hurts, my stomach hurts. And it was really
Wow.
grief because my mom had died. I was being abused, and nobody was like catching on to that, because I came from a
Aw.
good family. And, say that in quotes. Um,
It's silent. The
yes,
silence
so
is
they
the
don't
killer.
think, we had money, so they don't think you have abuse. And so no one was doing anything. And it was during that when I learned the concepts of mindfulness that I thought this needs to be in schools. And so I started researching it, and it's been in schools, I found out, for 30 years. And so I sent the research to the superintendent, and I did a pilot for mindfulness, just how to breathe for stress, basically, with kids. And we had Georgia State University measure it. And so for 2 years, I went back in a classroom. I taught elementary, middle, and high and practice. And then the data came out really good. We have a whole like research study on Forsyth County schools. And from there, I created a program and then started implementing it. And initially, I thought it would be for kids with behavior problems because that was kind of my jam and when I was in special ed. But it ended up now it's a program for teachers for their
Yeah.
wellness. And
Wow.
so I'm teaching
That's crazy.
teachers how to take care of themselves, how to, use these practices. Like I just left work and was doing staff wellness. So teachers get to come. We have like a room and they get to come and we stretch and breathe and relax. And so now it's what I do. And so
wow.
the program. So officially my title is wellness coordinator.
Oh,
And
incredible.
it's for the whole district, coordinating that for,
wow.
teaching teachers how to do it. I train them how to do it and how to teach kids how to breathe, basically. So that kids weren't like me sitting in schools, like you can't learn. If you're full of anxiety, you can't learn. So if we can help kids address those kind of anxiety and stress, test anxiety, then we can access learning.
Wow.
So that's kind
And
of
you were teacher training the teachers too, right? The school teachers?
yes. I train them mainly on their wellness. It's
Okay.
like I take them out to the farm to West Milford, and we have a
Oh,
whole
cool.
day where I teach them, wellness practices, things they can do for their own self-care. And then, I teach them all the research behind it, what it does, and they can bring it in really quick ways. We have these breathing balls, and we just teach them how to teach kids basically how to breathe correctly, which is, in through the nose and bellies out, not mouth breathing.
The expanding ball.
Yes, the expanding. I should have brought one. Yeah. We have them all over the district. And so kids can just use them in the classroom and breathe anytime. So that's really
that's
kind of been my mission.
that needs to be in all the. Sorry,
I
my.
think it needs to be in every school, in every county, in every state. I just trained a group of teachers in Arkansas, in Bentonville.
Oh, that's great.
Trained
So
like
it is starting to
mhm.
spread
Yeah.
more.
And I
That's great.
talk about it. I go to conferences and talk about it because I don't think enough people we're really focused on academics, which is great, but if we don't address stress and wellness, especially of the teachers, like we have a teacher crisis, like we've got to help our teachers be well.
Yes.
Yeah, they can't afford to live because they don't get paid enough, right? Can't live in the counties that they teach in and stuff.
Yeah, and it's just the overwhelm of life and their own families and the job and
kids.
Yeah.
Yeah, and post COVID and kids with technology and not being able to read, all that stuff, I'm sure is hard. This reminds me a lot of what our friend PK does with kids, but he does it through gaming. He does mindful gaming.
Oh yeah, he's in the building.
Boom. So y'all are just creating magic.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
That's awesome.
We had him on 2 weeks ago?
Yeah, I think so.
2 weeks ago. And it was really cool that what he does is so aligned with yoga and mindfulness.
Yeah, it's crazy. That's how I want to know how you went from a career standpoint, from mediation into mindfulness. I mean, I know your trajectory involved your yoga teacher training and your personal story, but from a professional standpoint, where you're just like, hey, trust me, I'm gonna do this thing.
Well, no.
Like it feels like you started a whole new.
Well, so they actually paid for my original yoga certification, and then they paid for me to go to Omega Institute in New York because I really realized I needed to understand mindfulness better. So I went to a program. It was like a 5-day like intensive retreat in upper state New York. It was beautiful at Omega Institute.
Yeah.
And it was mindfulness for educators. And I was the only educator there from the South. Everyone was New York. They do this
Oh.
everywhere, you know, in other states. And so I went and did a really intensive training on how to bring it into education. And so I did that. And then from that, did the pilot for 2 years, and then doing the 2 years, taking that data and having
Mm,
the kids give feedback and the parents gave feedback. And it was just every single, like we gave the elementary kids a mindfulness measure and that increased. We gave middle and high school um, a strength and difficulties questionnaire where they rated themselves, and like all their difficulties dropped. Like everything we wanted to happen happened. We gave them a positivity and negativity affect, and that went up. Positivity went up, negativity went down. The parents loved it, worked with kids with ADHD. And so 2 years of doing it and getting that data was really where they were like, okay,
that
let's now.
critical point. Yeah.
So
That's
I like wrote
amazing.
the program that we're using based on my experience in the pilot
Oh,
That's so
wow.
incredible.
and
So you're
creating,
doing
kind of
incredible
honed
work.
down what I did into like a quick, easy way.
Yeah. Wow.
Sheesh.
Well,
Yeah.
I'm so grateful to have met you and to have you telling us this story. It's amazing because when you go on your own personal healing journey, you kind of get in like a bubble, like, okay, I need to fix myself. But it's cool to like pop up and see that other people are doing it and changing the future as well by working with kids and teachers. Well, by working with teachers through which you're touching the kids.
Yeah.
Well,
That's
I
so
really used
incredible.
myself as the model, to be honest, because I was like, I was really like sad in school and anxious. And like sometimes I'm surprised I got through school, and it really just hit me like, why didn't a teacher know this? Why didn't a teacher
Yeah.
just, every time I would come up and say, like, my stomach hurts, that's a way to say I have anxiety. And, you know, I don't know that we had that language back then, or we didn't talk about trauma and
Or
things
you
like,
were being dramatic,
yeah, or that you
Yeah.
would just be like, all right,
attention. Yeah.
yeah, and just teaching, I thought, wow, how powerful if a teacher could say to me, hey, just take 5 deep
Need
breaths
deep breaths.
through
Yeah.
your nose. Let's
Right.
just take a minute and let's teach me how to breathe. Like I learned I was breathing wrong. I wasn't even breathing correctly. And just learning how to breathe correctly clears up so much stuff mentally and anxiety and health wise. Like there's a whole thing on nose breathing.
Yeah, we have a book club we had a book club at the at Lunar, and we read Breath by James Nestor, and a
Yeah.
lot of us did the mouth taping and all of that.
Yeah. So I use that book in my training to teach
Oh, no
teachers
kidding.
the importance of it. And it's funny, when I was reading that book, I was in the same breath class he was in.
No way.
Separate, but it was the exact same one. And it's like a
Yeah,
really intensive breath class. It was like 3 days, 9 hours a day. And
nice.
he was in it, and I'm reading the book. I'm like, oh my God, I'm in it too. Like, so I
Shows
just
you're on the
was,
right path.
yeah, I was into that book. Like,
Cool.
it's great.
Yeah, that was pivotal for me too. In our book club, I started crying because it just made so much sense. I have a very similar story to you. I lost my mom when I was 3 and never understood why I had so many issues until I realized it
Grief
was
is a
a
thing.
grief killer, silent killer. And
Yes.
when I realized I didn't ever know how to take an actual real breath, and I went to pulmonologist, and everyone thought I had asthma, and like it was anxiety, and no doctor. I'm still mad about it, kind of, even though there's no right. It's like it makes sense. The systems weren't set up to acknowledge these things, but I still get mad of how much money I wasted on
Well,
doctors and bunch of doctors. I still want to call them names right now because I'm still upset with how much time I wasted. It could have been so simple for someone to just show me how to breathe, but we all
mhm.
went through what we went through for a reason. But I totally relate to you, and I'm just so happy that you're doing the work that you're doing because you're saving kids' lives.
I
If you
think so.
boil it down,
And teachers too.
especially the teachers, please.
Teachers,
It's
yeah.
so
Well, about
incredible.
grief, lungs and grief are connected, and we
Yeah,
both
and
have
yeah,
issues. Like
yeah,
they thought it was asthma, and they're like, "You have a childhood asthma." I'm like, "I never had asthma.
same.
It was grief, and I'm COPD." And once I cleared up the grief and learned how to breathe, everything went away. So I never had any of that, but I was being
Yeah,
treated with all this medicine, and like doctors, I read something like 83% of like emergency room visits are stress, panic attacks, anxiety, and nobody is addressing it. No one's
No one
saying,
treats
are you
it.
stressed? Do you breathe? But
Yeah.
I did hear that doctors are starting to reference like meditation and things
Yeah.
like that. But
It's like people like you and all of us having these conversations is making waves big enough to get the attention of the systems that prevented us from understanding these things to begin with. And there's humanity is like rising up, because I believe that like doctors are doing this because they're starting to understand that they need to sort of question what they were taught and keep in line, but also break the mold a little bit. I feel like people are feeling more comfortable in being a human over serving their system.
yeah, like we have to look at the human aspect. And I think a lot of people aren't even aware how much trauma impacts health, and or that they've had trauma. Like I'll have teachers, they'll tell me some symptom and I'm like, do you have trauma? And they're like, oh no. And I'm like, you don't have any trauma. Oh, well, I had breast cancer. I'm like, that's trauma.
That's
That's
capital T
huge.
trauma.
that's mental trauma, physical, but I think we think trauma means I've been attacked or
Yeah.
I've been
Right.
shot, or they don't always understand that trauma is grief, or trauma is a divorce. Trauma is, it can be all those things, but it can be. I mean, I worked with someone that just had isolation, like was a different race in a classroom, and asked if that's trauma. I'm like, yeah, when you're the only one and like you're
It goes
excluded,
against your survival. Yeah.
different, that can be an emotional trauma. I mean, trauma can be, we could go off on trauma.
Right.
Forever.
Small trauma, big trauma, complex trauma. Yeah. It all stores itself
It's all
somewhere.
trauma. It's all in the body. It all affects mental and physical health.
Wow.
Well, hopefully more than 3 listeners. No, I'm kidding. I'm
Can
trying to.
benefit.
This is the stuff that I hope everyone sees. This stuff, it's right there for everyone, and people aren't catching. Most people are now starting to catch on, but I feel like so many people. I'm like, look what you can. So
Well,
close.
I think COVID was actually a good thing for making people see that they couldn't sit still or they couldn't be okay in isolation, and it really made people
Themselves.
look at mental health and kind of open up to like, okay, we need to do something, because companies started doing wellness programs and yoga in companies. Like Google does yoga and mindfulness. I know a lot of, athletes have been doing mindfulness for years. It's been,
It's like a secret weapon, but only for the elites.
right.
It's
It's
like,
for the
this is
elite.
basic human
It's for
stuff.
everyone. It's for everyone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Free tools that come from within. Just like nature.
Yeah.
It should be free.
Well, speaking of COVID,
Right.
Poor Village Yoga. So
That's where we met.
yes,
Right?
that's where we met. Yep, I interviewed for you guys. Your hand. I think you hurt your hand, and so I was like, "Oh man, we're gonna do a lot of downward dogs." You're like, "I'll be fine," and you went. You got through it. I don't know. but so you had helped Sarah kind of rev up the engine a little bit to get things going again. And then she had such a hard time. I did an interview with her on my old podcast when I first started, and I still have it. It's on my my SoundCloud thing. But talking about the trouble she had with like the permits and everything, like how and it just dragged and dragged and dragged, and then finally she got it open, and you came in.
I want to say I came in like a year into it, maybe a little longer. I can't quite rember.
Yeah, I think so.
We were doing well. Like it was just picking up.
Yes.
And then COVID hit.
And then COVID. Yeah, because you hired me and maybe somebody else. I forget.
We were just hiring. That was right before COVID.
Yes. I taught one class.
Before COVID. Oh,
And then COVID hit. Yeah, and so, we tried for, I don't know, maybe 6 months or so,
Yeah.
and then we were like, I mean, you could only have 6 people, and we had to do the spacing, and then,
oh,
some people wanted to wear masks and some didn't. It just changed the yoga business
Yeah.
forever, I think. I mean, I don't know if it'll ever fully recover, maybe. I mean, Lunar's one of the last standing around here. This is why I support it, all the time. I'm always sending people there. But it ended up being a good thing for me personally because, I mean, it's like, okay, you're losing money, you're closing a business. And, honestly, you would think I would freak out about that. I mean, most people would.
Yeah.
But I was like, all right, this is what's happening. I'm just going to shift gears. And I didn't realize how much time, I was working a full-time job trying to get the mindfulness pilot going. I was like doing that and then doing the studio. And then just when the studio closed, it was like my personal mindfulness business just expanded. And I've done
mm,
so much and started. So it was actually ended up being a good thing. That's why you never judge things when they happen as like, oh God, this is so horrible, which I could have gone down that road because I love that studio and
Yeah.
it's a special place in my heart. It's the first place I ever practiced, and I just thought it was the most beautiful studio ever. That Sarah put together.
Yeah.
But I expanded my business. I started publicly speaking. Now I speak all the time. That's just something I do. I'm like at conferences all the time. I'm writing a book. I've joined a doctor, and I would do like sports coaching with him. It's called Alive and Well Sports. And
oh,
so
nice.
coach athletes, so I've been getting into that. So I've just done so much. Like I'm always doing this. Like I'm a little obsessed with mindfulness. So it just enabled me to like expand more of what I was doing, things I love doing. So
Rejection is
yeah.
protection. I fully stand by that. And that's not that anything was rejected, but your path was diverted to make
Yeah.
room for this path. So it's kind of like a blessing.
If it happened, it's meant to happen. That's how I
Yeah.
always look at it. Like even the
Don't
bad
hold
stuff.
anything too tight. Yeah.
Yeah, even the bad stuff, people, are like, oh, how'd you get? And it's like, yeah, it was sucked. I don't want to go back. I don't want to relive a lot of the experiences, but like, I know I would never be here doing this, doing what I love. Had I not been there and suffering, I wouldn't know how to help people if I hadn't helped myself out of suffering, physically, mentally, all of that. So, I see everything as purposeful, that we
Yeah.
go through.
And then, speaking of this great community of your Monday night yoga, nidra, and yin at the
Yeah.
farm, how
Every
many you have? You got like a crowd, don't
I've
you?
got a good group. We've been going. I kind of brought some people from Village, and I know Julie came there, and you teach there. We have a few little Village teachers and clients are still there, like Mandy.
Yep.
Um, and they kind of jumped over too. And so Chad offered me a space, to teach. And so I love teaching there. It's such a beautiful place. And I have a good group there. And then that kind of expanded where I started doing my trainings for the school system there. So
Yeah.
we
Yeah.
get to, have a day of wellness and take teachers out of the building and just do self care all day.
And bring them to that place.
Kinda
I mean,
Yeah, it's gorgeous.
yeah. So it's kind of like it all connected, like
That's so
my
cool.
personal yoga, but then, the school system really embraced the farm. Chad embraced us.
yeah.
And so he's awesome. So I love that's really the only place I teach just because I'm doing a lot with like my personal business. I have clients that I work with, and I work, a
You
full-time
have
job.
your job.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. That
um,
is, yeah, that's a lot. So yeah, that's perfect. I think over there he has all the a la carte classes, so you don't feel like you have to.
you don't have to lock into a membership. You can
Yeah.
just show up.
Yeah,
And it's so beautiful, the space.
it
Yeah.
is.
And come.
I love all the pictures you have that you have taken there too. That's just a hobby of yours? Like you had pictures up of, I
Yeah,
don't know.
well, I was doing photography before I got into yoga. That was kind
Okay.
of my thing. And then I've kind of put it to the side since getting into yoga and mindfulness. I'm like all into that and I just haven't
Yeah.
had time. But somebody asked me, I still get asked to do it, people who know. So I said, okay. And I did some pictures out there, some senior pictures that turned out. I mean, it's just such a great space. So it's not something I do a lot, but
Right. But yeah, just
Well,
kind
how
of
can you
like,
not
ooh,
share? Yeah.
yeah,
let me go back to my first love kind of
yes,
thing.
just doing the photography. There's so much I want to do. I like being creative and doing photography and things like that. I've kind of prioritized the mindfulness, like wellness. I got like a health and wellness coaching certificate a few years ago, like back when I got the yoga. I started getting all the things,
Yeah.
just kind of diving into everything. So I did that. So I coach people on like wellness and how to be, mindfulness for trauma, for different issues. It's funny, I have clients for all sorts of issues, just different. But I mean, I do pretty much, I'm always teaching them wellness and how to use mindfulness meditation for health,
For everything, right?
Yeah.
for everything,
And
mentalness.
did I see on here I go, on your Instagram that I was talking that you did a complaint thing, like
Yes. The
what was it called? Like
that's one of
a challenge.
the complaining challenge. Yeah, so there's a complaining video. It's really good if you haven't seen it. It's a TED Talk. I love TED Talks. And
Yes.
it's about how the negativity of complaining, how we're all like walking around complaining and just everyone's griping and miserable all the time. So we did kind of a challenge at my work and we were just trying to notice how much we complained and like switching a bracelet every time you switch to kind of bring awareness. And then once you start paying attention, you realize how much you're complaining.
Oh wow, I like that idea.
Oh, I know. I was like, ooh, I want
I
to
switched my
I
bracelet.
want
Because
to
it's
try that.
like, you don't realize, like a teacher we were doing it at school, she walked in and she's like, oh, it's raining. I hate the rain. And she's like, oh, I'm complaining. Like,
Right?
realize
How
how
it feels
much
so natural.
you throw negativity out there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. Yes, I'm gonna try that. I'm gonna try it. For
Me
like,
too.
what do you do for like a week? Do you notice like right
Yeah,
away?
you just notice, but now, I mean, I'm always trying to notice. I'm always trying, it's a practice. Doesn't mean I never complain, but like I don't complain like I did
Yeah.
Mm.
for sure. I don't. Every once in a while, I'll be like, oh, there I am complaining. Like, but
Yeah,
I
just
do
for
gratitude.
yourself.
Gratitude's a practice of mine. I do it every day. I used to think gratitude was cheesy, but I say my gratitude out loud. I thank for things I want that I don't even have. It's just gratitude's the quickest shift to that negativity. So if you
Yes.
start in gratitude, you're most likely not complaining. So that was kind of how I changed it, was really focusing on gratitude.
Oh, good idea. Good
Yeah.
idea. I was doing that, and then I got out of it. I need to get back. Get back.
And that's a thing for your health too. Gratitude gives you all the same benefits as mindfulness, like boosts immunity, rewires the brain for positivity.
Sweet. That's amazing. I can't believe that. And then so the last thing I think I have, well, not the last thing, but with all that you do, coming back to self-care, your yoga retreat
Oh, yes.
that you do. And it's every June. I mean, you've been doing it in
Yeah, this
June.
will be my third one coming up. So I've done two in Jamaica. I do it in partnership with the Jamaica Inn, which is like in Ocho Rios, and it's beautiful and it's perfect. It's really conducive for mindfulness. There's no TVs,
Oh,
no clocks, like no
wow.
computers anywhere. There's no kids. It's a 5-star resort. They were just voted in Travel and Leisure like one of the top in the Caribbean. The spa is over the ocean. No walls. You're just in a hut and you're listening to the sounds of the ocean, and it's
Oh.
open air. I mean, you're kind of airing everything. People are coming by in boats. You're just sitting there. It's the best massage I've ever had, and the best. It's
Oh.
just, there's no like crowds. It's not like the kind where you maybe in Montego Bay, where it's like all you can eat and it's party central. Jamaica has hotels like that. This is not that. Like it's perfect. Like we get up and do meditation on the beach right by the ocean in the morning, and then we have a morning yoga class. And the yoga studio is a platform they built. It's called Peter's Point. He was one of the owners, and he passed away, and he was a big proponent of mindfulness. And so I've met him before he died, and so they named the yoga place after him. And so it's over the ocean, so you're just looking at the ocean while you're practicing yoga. And then you have the day to yourself to go to the spa, sit on the beach, read. It's all about like slowing down and being mindful. And so it's mindfulness, wellness, yoga, teaching all those strategies. And then we do the yin and yoga nidra, which is kind of my jam. That's, what I teach. So I do that one more active in the morning, more of a flow. And then yin and yoga nidra right on the beach by the ocean. So you're doing it to the ocean. So it's really about slowing down and relaxing. I had about 14 this summer.
Oh,
And
nice.
we do that on a private beach. So their beach is private, but then we do the class on their separate private so that the other guests aren't there and it's just us.
Okay.
And then we have dinner together and you eat under the stars. Like there's just no walls. It's so perfect. It's like my favorite place to go. So it's
And you just bring everyone to kind of restore their.
It's restorative. Yeah. Like we're not doing activities. I think we talked about that. We're just like being and breathing and enjoying the nature there and the food. And, we did like, the only thing we did besides our massages, we were blowing up the spa, was the spa guy Kenneth took us through and taught us how they make all their scrubs for the spa. And so with the elements, the nature, so the lemongrass and things. So he taught us and we all made the body scrub. And then they took us on a garden tour and showed us all their fruits and we tried them. And so it was like mindful eating. So we kind of made that an activity. So that was really, other than that, we were on the beach and, listening to the reggae
allowing
music.
the body to actually rest.
Yes. And it's like time slows, it stands still because you're not racing, which is, what we're doing all the time. We're just racing around.
Yeah, I think
multitasking.
And even when people go on vacation, they're like, "Oh, we need to go do this, we need to go do that," and it's you're never really.
You don't feel like you've rested,
right? So that's great. Well, I'll put that.
Put it on your
information, like all your information in the show notes.
Yes,
for all that.
And I'm kind of partnering with. You may have seen it, Wisdom Feed. They're doing like a meditation challenge. It's on my Instagram.
Okay.
So you can just like comment. It's like maybe my last post on Instagram, but you comment meditation and they send you a link. It's a 5-day, it's called Time to Chill. It's a meditation challenge if you're into the meditation.
Nice.
And it's free, I think. So it's a partner like John Kabat-Zinn works with them, a lot of the meditation people. So,
nice.
Yeah.
Well, I'll put that too on. Like I'll direct everyone over to your Instagram so they can go comment and get on there. When does it start? Do you know?
I should know, but I don't, because I'm not like handling it. I'm just doing a part of it. Like I'm just going to do a meditation. I think I did it last year too. I think I did a gratitude meditation.
Nice. And oh my God, the other thing I forgot. I can't believe I almost forgot this insight timer.
Oh, yes. Insight Timer. So that's, if you don't know, it's a worldwide app. It's kind of like the Calm app or Headspace. And I teach meditation on there. And that's a free resource. You can just search my name, get on the app. It's got like a gold bowl. It's free. I mean, there is memberships if you want courses and things. But all my resources are free. I use them for teachers, and I have stuff, yoga nidra on there, stuff for sleep, for anxiety,
Nice.
just different silly meditations. I'm always recording new ones.
I love that. Yeah, I love Insight Timer for that. It's great for sleep meditation. Oh my gosh.
They have sleep stories. There's a lot of yoga nidra. There's body scans. There's a ton of stuff.
Yeah. So I'll also put that on there so people can start somewhere, right?
Yeah. 5 minutes a day.
Yeah.
That's all it takes.
Well, I think that's a good place to stop. Is there anything else that you're yearning to tell our 3 listeners? No, I'm kidding.
Hi to the 3. Is one Mandy?
Yes.
Yeah.
Tonight. And Leanne's gonna listen to this one too.
No, I'm coming to Lunar though. My yoga teacher who I trained with is doing the Kundalini there. So I'm coming.
Oh, that's right.
August 30th. So I'm showing out it's like sound bath and Kundalini. And I wish we had someone who did Kundalini. I would love a Kundalini class at Lunar.
I want to take my training.
You should.
I probably will. Yeah. That's
good.
The best
Because
one.
nobody does it in our area.
I know, it's intense. People are like, what? You're willing to break the mold.
But I love it.
Yeah, the weird
yoga. Because it's why I thought yoga was so weird, because I lived in Los Angeles and everyone does Kundalini. So I kept seeing the turbans, which is for the teacher mainly.
Yeah, when you're like a master. Yeah.
Yeah. And
intimidating.
so everyone was dressed the same. I was like,
you're like, I'm not that, but I'm interested. Kind of. 10 years later.
Kundalini curious.
Yeah, Kundalini curious.
Yeah.
I had the same aversion to yoga as well. It felt like such a club that I wasn't ever going to be part of. Like, it was like bitchy girls in Atlanta, but I found my way to it, just like you.
Yeah. Sometimes, it can be, especially Americans,
westernized.
It can just be like this trendy, and people, I think it like pushes people away from it, because it's like you have to be, are we going to do handstands, or everything has to be like, for a while Instagram was all about doing the poses and
the acrobatics of it.
Not
the mindfulness at all.
And it's like it became like a thing where people would say, I can't do it, I don't have a yoga body. It's like, no, anyone can do it. You have a body. Like,
do you sit?
Body.
Do you breathe?
Can you move?
Right.
Yeah.
I love that.
Well, cool. I think we covered everything, and thank you again.
Yeah, I'm so glad we got to bring you on. It's so aligned.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks, and we would love to have you on again if you'd like to. If you have any other stuff you want to share with people, then we'll get you back on again. And maybe after your book, you said you're writing a book.
Yes,
so
I'm writing a book. I'm hoping to have it done. My goal is by December. I'm like, I am not having another year that I'm not finished. It's twisted. It can be, it's true. It can be like a Netflix like movie or something.
Ooh, I'm so excited.
Yeah.
That's so incredible. We'll have to bring her back for that.
Yes, we'll bring you back for that.
And all this is starting right here in Forsyth County. All these big movements. It feels like we're bringing everyone together doing this stuff. It's going to be huge.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, thanks for having me on. I love what you're doing.
Thank you. And I'm sure I'll see you at the farm at some point.
Or Lunar.
Well, yes, definitely. I want to go to that because I have never done that. I've never done.
Oh my God, you have to go.
You have to go.
It's amazing. I mean, she's who I train with. She's awesome.
Yeah,
you have to go. Okay. Your Kundalini is gonna start rising. You're gonna be like, what?
My Kundalini
with her too. Mandy and I did did our 500 hour with her, but I
Oh,
did my
nice. Okay.
700 hour too.
And you've had her at Village too, right?
Yeah, she came and did Kundalini there, and we all wore the white. We looked like a cult, but yeah.
I love it.
Oh, I love
I'm
it.
happy
Yeah,
to look like a
stir it up.
cult with you guys anytime.
I'm coming in my white. We
You
need
gotta
to
wear
make
white.
sure she puts on there to wear white.
Yeah, it's
That's
Okay.
because it's a purity thing, like because you're like
Oh,
inviting a
yeah.
spirit.
highest vibration.
Yeah, it's very spirit oriented.
All right, I'm gonna go sign up.
It's
I
so
know.
fun.
I'm excited. All right. Well, good.
All right.
Well, if I don't see you before that, we'll see you then.
Yeah, we'll be in white.
Yes. All right. See you
All right.
later.
Bye, Ashley.
Bye.
We can do it. We can do it.